Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at a case that completely blurs the line between a standard missing persons investigation and something, well, entirely inexplicable. We're digging into the mystery of the voice on the line and the dark legend of the Hollow Mile. To really wrap your head around how a totally cold case suddenly reignites, I want you to picture an empty kitchen in the dead of night. It's completely silent, that heavy, thick quiet you only really get in those early hours of the morning. And then, out of nowhere, a phone starts ringing. The clock reads exactly 3:14 a.m. Now, a late-night call is always pretty startling, right? But for Daniel Reyes, a 31-year-old guy living alone just outside the city, this specific call was about to turn his entire reality completely upside down. He wanders into the kitchen, still half asleep, and glances down at the glowing screen. And what he sees on that caller ID? It presents a literally impossible scenario right from the jump. The number flashing on the screen is one that has been completely disconnected for 6 years. I mean, think about that for a second. How does a deactivated, completely dead number suddenly ring through to a live phone? It goes against absolutely every rule of modern telecommunications. It's, for all intents and purposes, a digital ghost. But for Daniel, the technical impossibility wasn't even the biggest shock. The real shock was who that number used to belong to. That disconnected number? It belonged to Mara, Daniel's younger sister. 7 years earlier, back in 2018, Mara had mysteriously vanished without a single trace after finishing a late-night shift at a local diner. She was just heading home, taking her usual route, and then she simply ceased to exist. No body was ever found, no suspect was ever named. Her family was just left in this permanent, agonizing limbo. The actual details of the night Mara disappeared are honestly so eerie and completely unresolved. Police found her car abandoned right on the shoulder of Route 9. The engine was still running, the headlights were left completely on, just piercing into the dark highway. And honestly, the most terrifying part, the driver's door was left wide open. This wasn't a crash. It looked exactly like she had just stepped out of the vehicle and vanished right into thin air. So for years after that night, Daniel kept up this really quiet, private ritual. He kept her old phone number active, just paying the bill quietly every single month. We often use these digital artifacts, an old phone number, a social media page, maybe a saved voicemail, as sort of modern-day lifelines to hold on to the people we've lost. It was his way of keeping a door open, keeping a tiny spark of hope alive when the rest of the world had moved on. But eventually, the number was disconnected, and it just sat dormant. That is, until that shocking night in March. When Daniel answered that 3:14 a.m. call, totally expecting it to be a wrong number, he didn't hear a voice. He heard dense static. And just beneath that static, the faint, broken sound of someone breathing. He called out Mara's name, and the line instantly went dead. Daniel tried to convince himself it was just some weird network glitch, but then the calls began to escalate. Call 2, call 3. Daniel actually started recording them. And get this. Each and every call arrived at precisely 3:14 a.m. Now, why is that specific time so crucial? Well, investigators had previously confirmed that 3:14 a.m. was the exact estimated time Mara's car was abandoned on the highway 7 years prior. The calls were literally mirroring the exact moment of her disappearance. By the time the fourth call came in, the pattern actually shifted. Beneath that heavy layer of static, a voice finally broke through. It was barely audible, but Daniel caught it on the recording. A single, whispered sentence. "I'm still on the road." Daniel was absolutely shaken to his core. He immediately took these audio recordings straight to the local police, bringing the whole case back to Detective Naomi Voss, the original investigator who worked Mara's disappearance all those years ago. So Detective Voss runs a trace on these incoming calls, and she uncovers an absolute paradox. On one hand, you've got the carrier data. The telecom company confirmed the number was completely dormant. It was just sitting unused in their system, not linked to any active SIM card anywhere in the world. A total ghost number. But on the other hand, the physical trace showed something impossible. The calls were actively pinging from a cell tower less than 2 miles from Route 9. That is the exact stretch of highway where Mara's car was originally found. To even begin to understand this geographic anomaly, we really have to look at the local folklore of what people around there call the Hollow Mile. This is a highly specific 5-mile stretch of Route 9, and it has a very dark 20-year history. Long before Mara even went missing, long-haul truckers absolutely hated this section of the road. They swore up and down that if you drove through it after midnight, your radio would just flood with this strange, inexplicable interference. For years, the police just dismissed the whole thing as spooky local folklore. But here's the thing. It isn't just folklore anymore. Detective Voss opened up the archives and found a genuinely horrifying pattern. Over 2 decades, 4 different women, including Mara, vanished. They were all traveling alone, they all disappeared at night, well after midnight, and they all vanished without a trace within this exact same 5-mile stretch of Route 9. None of their cases had ever been connected by the police before, and sadly, none of their bodies had ever been recovered. Now, this is where the story gets incredibly insightful, because it shows exactly how digital footprints can sometimes map the unexplainable. Armed with this new connection, Detective Voss pulled the historical cell tower records for the specific nights of all 4 disappearances. And what she found sent absolute chills through the department. On the night each woman vanished, they were identical, completely unexplained cell tower signal spikes at that exact same tower on Route 9. And they always happen in a super narrow 20-minute window between 3 a.m. and 3:20 a.m. The data essentially proved there was something active out there in the dark. Then came a Thursday. The phone in Daniel's kitchen rang for the 5th time, 3:14 a.m. This time, Daniel didn't even try to speak. He didn't ask who was there. He just held the phone to his ear and listened. And for the very first time, that heavy, oppressive static that had been masking the previous calls, it completely cleared away. Through the sudden clarity of the line, Mara's voice came through. She wasn't panicked, she wasn't screaming. According to Daniel, her voice was actually calm, almost peaceful, which somehow makes the whole thing infinitely more terrifying. She spoke 2 very clear sentences. Tell them to stop driving at night. Tell them I'm not alone out here. The absolute second she finished that sentence, the line cut permanently. The number never became active again, and when Detective Voss's team desperately attempted to trace it one final time, they discovered something incredibly suspicious. That exact same morning, the account had been officially and permanently closed by the telecom carrier. The company claimed it was years overdue for cancellation, and had simply been flagged and shut down in a routine system sweep. But we really have to ask ourselves, a routine sweep on that exact morning? The timing was just impeccable. Investigators officially noted in their files that this timing was simply too perfect to be a coincidence. It leaves everyone wondering what kind of digital cover-up or weird synchronicity was really at play. Today, Mara Reyes remains missing. Her case is still open, but now it's quietly linked to those 3 other disappearances spanning 20 years. Detective Voss is still active on the case, but it's pretty clear the investigation has deeply changed her. In a recent interview, she actually admitted that she outright refuses to drive Route 9 after midnight anymore. And she made it very clear it's not out of superstition. She does it, in her own somber words, out of respect for whatever's still down there. It's a heavy, deeply serious implication from a veteran detective that the danger in the Hollow Mile is still very real and very present. While Detective Voss avoids the highway, Daniel has tried his best to avoid the past. He finally canceled his old phone plan last spring, putting an end to the dormant number once and for all. He got an entirely new phone with a new number on a totally new network. But Daniel says that sometimes, even now, the mystery still finds him. Occasionally, in the dead of night at exactly 3:14 a.m., his brand new phone will buzz just once. A single ring. There's never a caller ID, and there's never a voicemail left behind. It really leaves us with a deeply unsettling reality about the limits of our everyday technology and the kinds of things that might exist just out of sight on a dark, lonely highway. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about the phone sitting in your pocket right now, your own personal digital lifeline. If you ever find yourself driving alone late at night or sitting in a completely quiet house and your screen lights up with a number you don't recognize, will you answer it? Because as we've learned from the Hollow Mile, some calls just aren't meant to be picked up.